Hi, this is János and this is Real World Audio. And today I will talk about mono cartridges and about what makes a cartridge true mono. Because there are often cartridges that you can find which are called mono cartridges, but they are not true mono. They are just internally connected or externally connected stereo cartridges which for all practicalities act as a mono signal source, but the way they are getting the signal is not true mono, and it doesn't sound nearly as good as a true mono cartridge. So what is a true mono cartridge? So basically a cartridge that has the magnet and the coil assembly in a horizontal fashion, so it is parallel to the disc that you are playing, then that is a true mono cartridge. So if the coil and magnet assembly is at an angle, like a 45 degrees angle or even higher angle, then it is basically a stereo cartridge, and that's when you wire the two channels together to create electronically a mono signal, which is an inferior solution, and those are these pseudo mono cartridges. And when you look at the here at the Audio Technica lineup, then they have three cartridges. One of them is the VM610 mono, and that's a stereo cartridge that is wired up as mono. And when you click on that, I won't click now, but when you click on it, then it will show the inside of the cartridge, and you will see that the coils are not this way, but they are this way. So that's not true mono. That's just a series connected stereo. But the other two here, the Mono 3 SP and the 33 mono, those are true mono cartridges. Even though their description is very poor on Audio Technica's website, and the people often think that those are also stereo cartridges connected as mono. And when you read at forums, like 50% of the posters, they will post that those are just stereo cartridges connected as mono. No, that's not true. Those are true mono cartridges, and however, they have a little extra spin put on them compared to a traditional mono cartridge. So then you have, wow. But we might look at it from a different angle, because the 8033 mono is more than a half a century old mono cartridge. Yes. So where did I put mine? Here's mine. This is the 50th anniversary, half-century edition of this cartridge, and I got it, when did I get it? Like 6 years ago, something like that. So now it's like almost like a 60-ish years old cartridge, basically going back to pretty early days, well before my days. And we could really call it one of the classic mono cartridges by now, and if you count half a century as a classic. And however, what makes this cartridge special? This is what makes it special. So I'm just going to draw here. So this is a low output moving coil cartridge. So what does that mean? It means that when you have the stylus cantilever assembly, which is like you have the cantilever here and the diamond stylus at the end, I'm just really doing like a, this is not as big, you can barely see the stylus with your eyes, it's really tiny. I'm just drawing it big so you can see. And at the end, at the cantilever assembly here, you basically have a coil attached to the cantilever. So when the stylus is moving, that moves the coil, and inside the coil there is a magnet, And that's why it's a moving coil, because the coil is the moving element. When you have a moving magnet cartridge, then a magnet is attached to this cantilever assembly, and when the stylus is moving, it moves the magnet. So why is a moving coil regarded as a more refined version than a moving magnet? That's because a coil is much lighter than a magnet. So and when you go lower output for the coil, so we can start with the moving coils with like a high output moving coil cartridge, which has a similar weight. I would say it's still lighter weight than a moving magnet, but not critically lighter than a moving magnet cartridge, but still a little bit lighter. But it has a lot of coils in it to have a high output on the order of 4-5 millivolts. That's what we could consider as a high output moving coil. When you go lower, like a medium output, like a 1 millivolt output, then it's a much smaller coil, much fewer windings, and it means that it's much lighter. So when the stylus is vibrating and moving with the music signal, there's much less inertia at the readout assembly. So the lighter that element in the end that's doing the reading, be it coil or magnet, the more responsive your stylus and your cartridge will be to small signals, because it will not store energy. The lighter it is, the less energy it stores, so the finer movements it can track. So that's why you get a massively higher detail retrieval, speed and dynamics when you go with lower mass for the stylus cantilever magnet coil assembly. And when you hit the pinnacle of the moving coil cartridges, then we end up at areas like the top level Art 5000 Audio Technica cartridge. I think it just has like 3 or 4 turns, and that's the coil, like 3 turns, that's it. It's so light, it's basically almost nothing, no weight to it. So however, the 8033 mono is not that light. It has several coils, but not much. Very low turn counts for the coil, and it has 0.35 millivolt output, very little. And when you have most traditional mono cartridges, then what happens is that you have a coil, and whether that coil is attached to the cantilever assembly or the magnet is attached doesn't matter, because your output is going from the coil, whether it's moving coil or moving magnet. And then you have a single coil, and that's reading the full information that's transmitted from the stylus. And then we can count them with different polarities, and we get the signal from there. And what Audio Technica has done, because they developed this cartridge at the beginning of the stereo era, they wanted to make a cartridge that you can use for your stereo system, to use your stereo system for mono records. And for that, what they came up with is that they broke the coil up into 2 pieces. So basically a right piece and a left piece. So that one coil was snipped in the middle, and the ends taken out as extra inputs and outputs. So now what we have is, we have 2 signals coming from your mono cartridge, and one is attached to 2 pins and the other to the other 2 pins. So basically your stereo system gets fooled that we are receiving a stereo signal, right? But because we are sending the signal to 2 channels, left and right, but we are sending a true mono signal. So the same signal is going one way and the same signal is going the other way. Now, if you have a mono system, you can still use this cartridge with a mono system that is just one channel amplification with one loudspeaker. And in that case, you can either just use half coil, which is like one of the coils, I mean half of the total coil, which means one coil only, and then you have that certain output impedance and certain volt out, which in this case it's 0.35 millivolts output, and it has wants to see 100 ohms load basically. And now if you connect these two coils together in series, then you will get double the output, so it becomes a 0.7 millivolt output, and it wants to see a 200 ohms load. And you can use it in a third way, which is paralleling the two coils, and in that case you will have a 0.35 millivolt output, and you have 50 ohms for the load that it will want to see. And this is, I think, something really, really powerful, because it makes this cartridge accessible for quite diverse types of step-up transformers, step-up devices, because low output moving coil cartridges, they are not a phenomenon by themselves. You need a step-up device to make their signal useful enough for a phono stage to read. And when you want to purchase a moving coil cartridge, you cannot just purchase it in a vacuum. You always have to think about the cartridge and your step-up combinations, because the two together will make sense only for the phono stage. And you can get the best cartridge and the best step-up, but if they don't, they're not compatible to each other, it will be rubbish. So that's why in the case of this Audio-Technica cartridge, it gives you tremendous freedom, so that if you already have a cartridge, you already have a step-up, then by one of these three combinations, you have a very good chance that you will be able to match this mono cartridge with your system. And so that's it. So basically this is a true mono cartridge with this option that you can use it in three different ways. Also, what is a really good thing with this cartridge, and actually all of the Audio-Technica mono cartridges, is that you can read stereo records with it, but in mono. And why is that? That's because it has vertical compliance, and that means that the stylus can move up and down. So basically it has a shock absorber in it, but it's not reading the up and down as signal. No, it's just a shock absorber. It's like a car. You have the shock absorbers to let the wheels go up and down, but the energy that's transmitted to road goes only in this plane, right? You can go forward or you can reverse, but you cannot make your car go up and down unless you are listening to rap music and you put on like powered shocks in the car, but that's something completely different. So anyway, coming back here, you need that up and down compliance, because in the stereo records you also have the signal, the channel separation is done by the up and down portion of the information coded in the record. And the most elegant and quickest way to convert a stereo recording into mono is by omitting the up and down movements. It's much more elegant and much more effective than reading out the up and down as a stereo signal and then later on trying to splice it together into mono. So, one more thing, because the middle cartridge, the Mono 3, both the SP version, which is shellac only, and the LP version, which is for 33 and 45 RPMs, the shellac is for 78 RPMs, and they are just for each, so you cannot get this Mono 3 SP cartridge to play 33 RPM or 45 RPM records. No, it doesn't work for that. This is only for 78 records. And the LP version is only for 33 RPM or 45 RPM versions. Otherwise, they are identical on the inside. The assembly, everything is identical, just their styluses are different, and the tracking force, the tracking weight is very, very different for the two of them. And this one is the baby version of the 33 mono, in a way that it's a medium output moving coil. The website says high output, but no, it's not high, it's medium. You still need a 1 to 5 step up to use it with the phono stage. And here it is done in a similar way as the Big Brother. So it has a coil like that, like two coils, but the center tap is hardwired. It's connected together, and you don't have the choice to treat them separately. So basically there you only have two options to use it. So either use only one half of the full coil with the center tap, or use the full coil as for the output. For the full output, I mean for the doubled output at a doubled impedance load hooked up to it. And of course you can use it in a third way, which is use the center tap as your neutral, as your ground, and one end for one channel, the other end for the other channel, and you can create like a fake stereo, fake reprocessed stereo that way, because the two outputs will be out of phase to each other. So you will have like not an electronically reprocessed, but a magnetically reprocessed stereo version of your mono, which is a whole different issue. This whole thing deserves a whole video by itself. But anyway, this is it for now. The best way to use this cartridge is if you use like the center tap for your neutral, and use it as a balanced output cartridge, so you can drive like a balanced circuit with this cartridge. That's what it's made for. So thank you for watching this video. I hope there's many of you who are interested in mono, listening to mono and learning how these cartridges work. And please like, and if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe. Check out my previous videos, and if you want to support the channel and you like the information you are receiving, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Links will be down below. Thank you. Bye bye.